Be repulsed by distractions. And I use the word repulsed deliberately because there's not just avoid. We don't want to just avoid distractions. We want to be repulsed by them. You've already started thinking about your dreams and objectives. You know what skill sets you need to develop. You're going to put the reps in, and now you just need to be repulsed by anything that keeps you from achieving those dreams and desires. Those are things that you as a man will not engage in. That's a decision that you need to make. And the beautiful thing is that it is just a decision. One of a man's defining characteristics is his ability to stay calm, not just when it's easy or convenient, but in the face of catastrophe and hardship and struggle and heated emotions and horrible even situations. It's our job to be calm, to be cool, to be collected, to help lead people, to help get people to safety, to help navigate a difficult conversation or a romantic fight that you may get into, or an upset customer or a client. It's, again, our ability to stay calm in those moments that are going to help us get to a place that we want to be and also help serve other people. Unfortunately, I've seen so many men stumble, crumble, throw temper tantrums like a child that doesn't get the toy at the grocery store, and yell and shout and swear and just about every other repulsive behavior that you could imagine, because he's not calm and he's allowing his emotions to dictate his reaction instead of his response. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that you shouldn't have emotions. I'm not saying that you shouldn't feel those emotions. I'm saying that it's our job to regulate our emotions in order to produce effective outcomes for ourselves and for the people we care about and are serving. Today, I'm going to share with you 8 tips that you can use to keep yourself calm. Some of them are mindsets. Some of them are skill sets. Either way, we have to practice these things. We have to embrace these things, because I'll tell you what, this is the type of men we want to be. And I know that because when we look at heroes and we look at people that we aspire to be like, those are men who are calm under pressure. They're cool. They have a certain demeanor about them, a certain confidence or charm. A lot of people call this the X factor. And a lot of it comes from being confident, which is derived from competency. We'll talk a little bit about that. But I think it's safe to say that all of us would like to be more calm, whether it's something as simple as a social media argument or an argument with your wife, to potentially dangerous active shooter type situation, which might be a real possibility for some of us who are engaged in this Order of Man movement. So let's talk about it. Number 1 is mindset. Know your role and lead well. All right? Your job as a man, to reiterate a little bit of what I just said, is in fact to lead other people. Our motto, which is on my hat and over my shoulder here on this crest, is to protect, provide, and preside. All of those have an element of leadership and service to other people. You cannot do that effectively when you're scatterbrained, when there's chaos going on, when you're confused, when you're frustrated, when you're letting your emotions dictate your reaction. It's impossible for you to lead well. We make dumb decisions. We say stupid things that we don't mean. We end up becoming our own worst enemy. So when you notice yourself getting frustrated or getting heated or not calm, then what I would say first and foremost is make a decision, not only now, but in the moment, to be calm, to have clarity as to what your purpose is, and know that you have to get yourself into a better situation. And by the way, it only serves in your best interest to be calm. What good does it do to yell at a customer because they upset you? What good does it do to get into an unnecessary fight with your wife or your children? All it does is undermine our credibility and authority with those individuals, and influence too. And we certainly don't want to do that. Number 2, identify your dreams and your objectives. If you don't know what those dreams are, if you don't know what your goals are, it's very easy for us as men to get tossed with the winds of culture and other people's desires. We had a really good conversation in our Brotherhood today. It's called the Iron Council, if you're not familiar with it. And we were talking about living your life by default versus living your life by design. Unfortunately, most men, and maybe even some of you listening, are just doing things because it's the default. It's how you were raised. It's the scripts that you learned. It's the way that you saw how to behave when you were a child. The job, maybe it's a family business and it's not even really what you want to do. The friends in your life, or the guys that you went to high school with, or the guy who happens to work in the cubicle next to you or happens to be your neighbor, but you really haven't given much consideration about what that is. Your marriage is not amazing. It's not really what you want. It feels a lot like living with a potential roommate rather than a romantic partner. And I think part of that is the drift of life. Life just happens. We're busy. We get promotions and we get requests for our time, and we get even depressed and anxious at times, and things start slipping through the cracks. And when they do, you know that you're not living by design, you're living by default. Spend some time, especially this time of year, this is a perfect time to do it, to begin to think about, is this the kind of life that I want? When I look at my marriage, are we happy? Are we fulfilled? Are we meeting each other's needs and desires and hopes and dreams? Are we building a life together? Are we raising our kids the way we want to raise them? When it comes to your business, are you making the kind of money that you want? Is there upward mobility? Do you have autonomy with what you do on a daily basis? Does it excite you? Is it fulfilling? Do you feel like you're actually serving people and making a difference in the world? Now, look, some of these things you're not going to be able to change overnight, but you can change those through hard work and effort over a consistent period of time. If you look in the mirror and you're not happy with the size of your arms, or the little bit of fat that's accumulated around the midsection, or maybe you're out of breath when you walk up one flight of stairs, maybe your eating habits are bonbons, Cheetos, and Doritos, and cereal, and Burger King, and all the other food that you know is not good for you, and sometimes you wonder why, oh man, I always feel sluggish. I feel tired. I feel gross. And you say you wonder why, but we all know that that's part of the reason. What are your objectives? When you think about how you want to lead your wife, or lead your kids, or lead your community members, what about your community? Are you dissatisfied with it? Have you gone to city council meetings? Do you sit on the school board? Have you ran for political office? And if not, is that something that you should consider? We have to spend more time thinking about these things. Now, not at the expense of doing. Some people will do that. It's just constant pontification over what they want. And they have these things like 2025 is going to be my year. And yet they don't do anything about it. So it's not enough to think about it, but it's also not enough just to act without a whole lot of thought or intention behind it. I've said in the past, I'm going to butcher this because it's been a while since I've said this, but effort without thought is useless, and thought without effort is worthless. So yeah, think about it. Identify what you want. And if you want a great resource, I've got two. We've got our battle planner. This is the tool that I use every single day to map out my day, map out my goals, my to-do list, to check everything off, to hold myself accountable to it. You can pick that up at orderofman.com/battle planner. Or if you want a heightened version, not only the battle planner, but you want accountability and brotherhood with other men that are going to hold you accountable, that are going to help you identify what your goals and dreams are, then join us inside the Iron Council. It's open right now. It's at orderofman.com/Iron Council. Very, very powerful for, at this point, tens of thousands of men who have banded with us over time. Number 3, build your skill and get your reps. There's a great quote, and I cannot remember for the life of me who said it right offhand, but we don't rise to the level of our expectations. We fall to the level of our training. You'll hear this, and maybe you've even said it. If you see something go down, or some guy, approaches you, or whatever it might be, you're just going to beat him down. You go red, and you're going to win this fight. Although you have no fighting experience, no skill in that department at all. You think that just because you're mad or you're a bad A, that you're going to be able to win in a physical altercation. You're not. You're just not going to perform to what your expectation is. You're going to perform to what your standards are. So when you're thinking about your goals and objectives, the next step is to consider, what skills do I need that I'm currently lacking? Do I not possess, or do I not possess enough of? And I would focus on a couple of key areas: your mental, emotional, and spiritual health. I'd focus on your physical health as a secondary. I would focus on my finances and my family and friends. And then, that last one is relationships, so family and friends. So your finances, your money, your wealth, your prosperity, being a man of value, your physical health, your relationships, and your mental, emotional, and spiritual health. And you can even break it down further than that. When it comes to your finances, for example, you probably ought to consider what skill set you're missing at work. A lot of guys get upset when, for example, they get passed over for a promotion. I would be upset too, but I think it's worthy of asking yourself, why exactly did I get passed over for this promotion? Most guys will say, oh, it's office politics and, it's this or that. And even if it is office politics, it might be. If you know that that's the case, then maybe you ought to learn the game of politics in the office. You know what it is, so make it happen. Maybe it's that you lack the ability to lead, and so they're not going to put you into a leadership position. There's certain skills that you can learn and need to learn in order to achieve professionally and personally. And then from there, it's just the reps. Again, we fall to the level of our training, not rise to the level of our expectations. So you just have to put in the reps. And when you do, you're going to notice that you're a lot more calm. I'll give you an example. When I started training jiu-jitsu, and in fact, I would say all men who start training jiu-jitsu feel this way. It's weird to have another grown man close in your space trying to manipulate your body and hurt you in some way. It's very awkward. It's very uncomfortable. Sometimes you might get claustrophobic. You got somebody's arm wrapped around or their shoulder digging into your jugular, or their chest just compressed on yours, or their knee right on your sternum, just pushing you down into the dirt. It's not comfortable. And when you're not comfortable, what do? You're flailing around, you're wild, you're thrashing, you're doing crazy stuff. And you end up, if you're training against somebody who's got any level of training, you end up getting submitted. Well, it's the same thing in life. If you are new to something, you're going to be chaotic, you're going to be frantic, you're not going to know how to conserve energy, you're going to be highly inefficient, highly ineffective, and you're going to kind of look a little foolish. And that's not bad. When we learn a new skill, the risk of it is that we are going to look foolish for a while. But the more you put in your reps, and again, to go back to my analogy of jiu-jitsu, the more that you put in your reps, that guy who's putting his knee right on your sternum isn't as big of a threat to you anymore, because you've learned how to handle it. You can breathe through it. You can position yourself in a different way. You can try to do a reversal or a sweep, but there's things that you can learn above and beyond just flailing and floundering around like a fish out of water. You need to put in the reps and have patience with yourself. I'm an impatient person. I know that about myself. So I want to be really good at everything I do and try, whether it's jiu-jitsu or hunting, or podcasting, or speaking in front of an audience, or writing a book, or playing a pickup game of basketball with my son. In fact, maybe about a month or two ago, my oldest son is big into lacrosse, and we have a net out here, and he had his sticks, and he's like, "Dad, let's go shoot." I'm like, "All right, let's go do it." And he taught me some things, and he worked me over. I wanted to be good, but what right do I have to be good at using a lacrosse stick when I've never in my entire life picked one up? But we expect that of ourselves. It's crazy. It takes reps, and sometimes it's boring and monotonous and grueling, and you don't want to do it. But if you want to have success, then you need to do it over and over and over and over and over and over again. And when you have the skill set and you have the reps, you will gain competence, and competence breeds confidence. And when you're confident, and you can't manufacture confidence, it's not something you just fabricate out of thin air. It's something you have to build. Ego, bravado, arrogance, excessive pride, you can manufacture that, but you cannot manufacture confidence. But when you have confidence, You're a lot more calm in certain situations. Take a firefighter running into a burning building. The first time you do it, I don't know what that's like, but I imagine it is the scariest thing in the world. The 1,000th time that you do it, you have the training, you've done it a bunch before, you know what to expect. I'm not saying it's without risk, but it's a little bit easier for you to manage. That's because you have the reps and the skill set. Number 4, be repulsed by distractions. And I use the word repulsed deliberately because there's not just avoid. We don't want to just avoid distractions. We want to be repulsed by them. You've already started thinking about your dreams and objectives. You know what skill sets you need to develop. You're going to put the reps in, and now you just need to be repulsed by anything that keeps you from achieving those dreams and desires. Whether it's vices like alcohol or drug abuse, or pornography, or gambling, some of these vices, or it's just doom scrolling on Instagram, or going through YouTube videos for hours at a time, or taking too long in the bathroom because you're playing, I don't know, Candy Crush or what is it, Wordscapes. Like, I'm not saying you shouldn't have an outlet, but it should be deliberate, to go back to our earlier point. If you're doing things that are not deliberate, but they're distracting you from achieving your goals and objectives, don't just avoid them. Be repulsed by them. Like, those are things that you as a man will not engage in. That's a decision that you need to make. And the beautiful thing is that it is just a decision. It's just deciding that I'm going to be diligent, that I'm going to be dutiful. And by the way, when I have good days like that, everything else gets better. So if I'm at work and I'm diligent about emails and following through on my commitments and recording podcasts and connecting with other people and doing networking, when I'm done for the day and I'm with my kids or with my girlfriend, it's so much better. I'm not frustrated. I'm not distracted with things from work. I'm not preoccupied. I'm very present in the moment because I was diligent and dutiful. Get rid of those distractions. Be repulsed by those distractions. Start to identify what they are so you know, and then get rid of those things. Number 5, know your triggers. We all get anxious. We all get antsy. We all get frustrated at times. We all want to fight to varying degrees and push back and kick and scream and shout. But there's reasons. There's reasons for that. What are they? You know, for a man, I think for the most part, disrespect is a huge trigger. If you feel disrespected, you're going to go into fight or flight response because it feels personal. You feel personally attacked. There's a great book called The 4 Agreements. A lot of you have probably read it. And one of them is don't take anything personally. Even if it's personal, you can choose whether or not you decide to take it upon yourself as fact. It's not. It might be somebody's opinion, and maybe there's even some accuracy to it. But if you take it personally and operate from a reactionary standpoint, you're only going to hurt yourself and other people. So know what those triggers are. One trigger for me is clutter and chaos. If I have way too many things to do throughout the day, way too many emails to get through, way too much clutter and trash on my desk, that triggers me. I get mad, I get frustrated, I get short, I get irritable. And I know that's a trigger of mine, so I keep my environment clean. My desk is clean. I keep my office space clean and organized. My truck, when I get out, I throw the trash away and I don't let trash accumulate in there. I keep everything clutter free because that's a trigger of mine. Another one is when I'm busy. I think I already said that maybe, is just busy with appointment after appointment after appointment after appointment, back to back, back to back, back to back. It's infuriating to me because I don't have any time to process what happened in a previous meeting and what I need to be prepared for in the following. So because I'm aware of that, I schedule not back to back. If I have hour-long meetings, for example, I don't do one from 9 to 10 and then 10 to 11. I do one from 9 to 10 and then 10:30 to noon. I always put a half an hour buffer between my meetings. And in that time, I can do whatever I want. Bathroom break, follow up on a few emails that I need to catch up on, make a call or two, decompress, take notes from maybe a podcast that I did before I have to jump on another one, maybe prepare a little better for a upcoming podcast. But that 30 minutes, is for me not to fill with something specific, but to evaluate what needs to happen in that moment so that I can be prepared and engaged and present in my next engagement, my next meeting. So know what your triggers are. Write them down. I have a journal right here that I just write things in throughout the day on how I'm feeling in relationships, how I'm feeling with the business. Maybe it's an insight that comes to me. I just write it down in there. And I would also write down your triggers. It's good to know what they are, because the more that you're aware of what they are, the less they will impact you. All right, next. And we kind of talked about this a little bit. Do not overcommit. I'm not going to beat a dead horse. I feel like we talked about this a little bit, but that happens to be one of my triggers as well when I start overcommitting. And a lot of men do this because they have a deep-seated sense of duty and responsibility. And that's a good thing. That isn't bad. They have a deep-seated sense of duty and responsibility. And so we want to be valuable. We want to serve other people. We want to help other people. We want to be producers in business and personally and professionally and in our neighborhoods and communities. And so we have a tendency of saying yes to everything. I think for the most part, it's virtuous, but it's also going to hinder your ability to grow because you're doing so much that you can't be good at the few things you should actually be doing. You're trying to do everything. And this is why I told you earlier is number two was to identify your dreams and objectives, because now I can use that as a litmus test for everything else that I'm doing. If somebody wants to take a meeting with me, but it doesn't align with my goals and objectives, then I don't feel obligated to have that meeting. Now, some guys will use this as an excuse not to do any like charitable work or serve people just out of the goodness of their heart. I think that probably ought to be in your vision and dreams and desires as well, is serving the community, being charitable with your time, being charitable with your resources. And then you can look and see if a person needs help. Maybe a widow next door needs her lawn mowed, or you need to coach one of your kids' sports teams, or you see somebody who's broke down or stuck on the side of the road. That measures up with your vision and your dreams as being a man of value in the community. So you can get that done. But don't take on things that don't align with what you want. And don't feel obligated to make other people's problems your priority. You might, if one of my kids calls me today and they're having a hard time about something that happened with their mom or something that happened with a friend, and they called me up and, I've got appointment after appointment after appointment today, I'm going to deviate. I'm going to serve my kids. Again, that goes back to my dreams, but so I will take on to a degree their problems as my own, because that's my job. That's my function as a father. But I don't feel obligated that just because somebody else might be struggling, or maybe they've made poor decisions or poor choices, that it gets to automatically encroach in my life. I'm deliberate, intentional about that, and it has served me well and kept me a whole lot calmer. Number 7, create space and margin. Space and margin. Talked a little bit about this with the calendaring. Everything takes longer than you think it will. Everything is more complicated than you think it is. Things break, things fall apart, meetings run over, concepts are hard to explain in some cases. The programs that you're buying, whether it's technology or vehicles, electronics, don't work the way you think they're going to. Create space and margin and actually put it into your day. A lot of the times we fail as men to talk about rejuvenation, relaxing, recovering, rejuvenating, getting our wits back about us after a long day or a long meeting. But it's really important to build in, again, deliberately and intentionally, your decompress time. It's space, it's margin, it's not allowing other things to encroach. Maybe you have a space in the house that is just yours. I don't have a lot of space in the house that's just mine, but the garage, I will go out and tinker in the garage or organize it. It also happens to be our store, our merchandise store, so we're filling orders and everything out of there as well. But I have this chair, this leather chair out here in the living room, and I love that chair. So I might just sit there. Sometimes when I'm on the road, I'm not going to put in a podcast or even music. I'm just going to sit in silence with no expectation, no goal, just being silent so that I can have inspiration come to me or work through a problem or a challenge. Maybe it's just going for a walk without, like, I don't even really anymore use earbuds when I'm working out. I used to. I don't have earbuds in. I want to be present. I want to hear the people talking. I want to be able to engage with somebody. If, I see a buddy, I want to be able to have a conversation without having this distracting me. I want to hear the weight rack. Like I like the sounds of the gym. And so it's margin. I don't need to be constantly entertained, but that's one of the problems with society is that we're constantly bombarded with opportunity, appointments, requests for our time, music distractions, social media. It's in our pockets. Mine's my pocket right here. Constant bombardment. I turn off all of my notifications because I don't need to see every time somebody calls me. I don't need to see immediately every time somebody sends me an email or somebody responds to one of our social media posts. I'm not interested in that. I'll go check my emails at a deliberate and scheduled time. Sometimes people laugh at me, but if the doorbell rings, I don't really feel obligated to answer the door unless I know it's somebody that I've invited over. But if I'm sitting at home at 4 p.m. and I'm taking a break or maybe grabbing a quick bite to eat before I get on with the rest of my workday and the doorbell rings, I don't feel obligated to go get it. If somebody calls me, I don't feel obligated to answer it. If somebody texts me, I don't feel obligated to get back with them within whatever their accepted window of time is. It's my life. It's my schedule. If I have the time and the margin to do it, I will, but I'm very deliberate about how I spend that time, and that has proven not only to keep me calm, but help me be way more effective in life. And then the last thing here, and this kind of ties into what I was just saying, is develop a simple life. Think about everything in your environment. I walked into my closet the other day, and I've got a hall, and I've got 2 closets, one on this side, one on this side. And the amount of clothes in there that I'll never wear again, that's taking up space. And we don't think there's a cost associated with it, but there is. That's why we've heard just these classic examples, Zuckerberg, for example, or Steve Jobs wearing basically a uniform. And we all seen the uniform, for Jobs, it was, denim and black shirt or turtleneck. But a lot of these highly, highly successful entrepreneurs and business people, they have a uniform, and they have that uniform because they don't want to have to waste any energy on deciding what to wear and when and all that sort of thing. And I'm not saying you have to have a uniform and wear the same thing every day, but just having a bunch of clothes in your closet actually takes up space, mental space, and margin. Same thing with toys and gadgets and gizmos. And we're on the eve of Christmas here, and the things that we get that we'll never use, but then we feel obligated to keep them around. I've actually told people have asked me for addresses and they want to send me things. I'm like, don't send me anything. It's not that I don't appreciate the gesture. I do, but I'm trying to keep a simple life. So don't send me anything. Just say thank you, or let's have a conversation, or let's go do an experience together. I'm good with that, but I don't want a lot of physical stuff. I really like, and I don't live this fully, but I like the idea of the minimalist lifestyle. It's been said that the things that you own actually own you. And that's true. You own a house, that thing owns you and your time. You have a dog, I'm not saying you shouldn't, but that dog requires time, energy, food, water, money, putting it in a kennel or a sitter when you're gone. It's more to it than just the thing. It always is. And if you want the thing, that's fine, but you need to calculate the total cost of whatever that thing is in your life. And it will have a cost. Even a computer in this technology, it's taking up space. I have to charge it, so there's time. There's also the electrical cost. Not very much, but it is still a cost, but it's worth it, right? Because I have to run the business. But one thing I don't have is I don't have 17 cameras. Why would I have 17 cameras? Guess how many I have? One. And I had like 4 and I sold 3 of them because why would I have those? Actually, I'm sorry, I have 2. This one, and I do have a backup camera in case this one goes down. But the rest of the stuff I just get rid of. I do that all over my house. I do that in my car. You might even do that with people in your life. Maybe there's certain people who just shouldn't be in your life because they're a drain on your resources, your capital, your mental energy. Like we all have those people where you talk to them, you just feel exhausted, or they're always complaining and griping and just dumping all their baggage on you. You don't want that stuff in your life. Create and develop a very simple life, and you will be far less likely to be stressed about dealing with the cost of stuff and people and things. So that's my lesson for you today. Guys, it's very, very important that we do keep calm. I said this already. I think you know why. But again, think about the men that you admire and respect the most. Those guys are calm. They're cool. They're collected. Under pressure, without pressure, like they are just even keel, get the job done always. And we think typically less of people who are emotionally volatile. We don't think they're as capable, and they're typically not. We're definitely not influenced by them as much as we would be somebody who's calm and collected and has that level of confidence that comes with the skill set and the reps. So be that kind of man. That's the kind of man we want to be, and that's the kind of man that other people need us to be. So again, know your role, lead well. Number 2, identify your dreams and objectives. 3, build your skill and get your reps. 4, be repulsed, not just not be distracted, but be repulsed by distractions. Number 5, know your triggers. 6, do not overcommit. 7, create space and margin. And 8, develop a simple life. I hope that serves you. I hope that helps you. Please let me know if it does or doesn't. And let me know how I'm doing. Leave us a rating or a review. Also go check this video out on YouTube. You can see my ugly mug, and we're really trying to build up that YouTube channel. It's doing very well right now. 343 or 44,000 people tuning in to this podcast over on the YouTubes. Check that out at youtube.com/orderofman. And of course, 2 more resources, your battle planner, orderofman.com/battle planner with videos on how to use this. And the last resource, I think the most powerful one, I'm a bit biased, I know, is the Iron Council. This is our brotherhood. I've noticed there's a lot of other masterminds and organizations and brotherhoods that are popping up, and I think that's great. But what I'll tell you is that we've been doing this for 10 years, not 10 days or 10 weeks or 10 months. We've been doing this for 10 years. And over a 10-year time frame, we've learned what works, what doesn't work. We're constantly evaluating. We're constantly trying new things. In fact, we just finished up a survey, and we're putting together some results on what we might implement to make this thing even better. So it's constantly getting better, and you'll have access to some incredible, incredible men. What I've seen is, well, personally, I have friends from the Iron Council that I met through the organization that are lifelong friends. I've called 2 of them in the past couple of days because I needed to work through some issues and talk with them about some things. I had the opportunity to do that. I hunt with these guys. We go on adventures together. They know my situation, good and bad. I know their situation, good and bad. They can share what they need to share. I can share what I need to share. It's actually a really powerful thing. And it's because we have an organization like the Iron Council. So go check it out, orderofman.com/Iron Council. All right, guys, those are your marching orders. We'll be back next week for an interview. Until then, go out there, take action, keep calm, and become the man you are meant to be.